longtime ESPN personality and fixture, and he's also the founder of Run Freely. It's an organization with the mission to provide financial support for veterans with limb salvage conditions and in need of a solution to avoid amputation. Welcome, Kenny Mayne.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What do you think about the 49ers quarterback situation?
It's mysterious, but it can be that way all sorts of teams, right? How many teams absolutely, are 100% locked in, right? Like half the league usually. So they're giving him a chance. They signed Garoppolo for more. He wasn't that horrible last year. I'm not in charge of the team, though, but looking forward to the game. I would take the points if you're asking that question. But it's always fun. These division games are good no matter who's involved. I think I've gotten soft through the years because I want my side to win. I'm from Seattle. Mm-hmm. But if they don't, Monday comes either way, right? Like you go on through life. And plus, everybody makes way too much over September. Like all sorts of people freaking out after one game. I think you got to give everybody some time. Plus, you guys, didn't you play in like a monsoon? It was very ridiculous back there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like the idea of bringing back your starting quarterback as a backup for a player who hasn't played yet.
Yeah, well, I imagine like everybody's reaction initially kind of remains the same, right? Like you'd think, all right, if we're making that move, let's get a different guy and not have the confusion of is he looking over his shoulder? But again, people make decisions for a whole bunch of different reasons, and maybe they thought he was a good insurance policy.
Kenny, I'm a big fan of your work. Let me run this by you because I'm telling my partner and I'm catching hell on the Twitch and YouTube from the listeners. But I deemed Kyle Shanhan a genius at play design. But I know in the 19 Super Bowl they had a 10-point lead. They blew that. Things happened. Last year, NFC Championship, Kenny, up 10 on the Rams. They blow that. And week one is not as big as those other two examples, but they had a 10-point lead, lost that. Is it fair criticism from me to question, you know what? He also had a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, although he was the offensive coordinator. I'm watching Kyle Shanahan with these leads because I think something's up.
I don't know. You get to do whatever you want as a fan. I like it how when you're in the stands, like everybody thinks they're an offensive coordinator, questioning every play, questioning this, question. So I mean, it makes it fun, right? It's such an interesting, well-followed sport. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has action on it, and that's why it makes it exciting. Right? There's so much on the line every week too. But I think you got a pretty solid coach down there. I wouldn't, trade him over a whole bunch of others. And they've been that close. That's the thing I think people forget sometimes. Just to be in that fight, just to make it that far, that many times in a short period of time, is sort of a measure of success to begin with, right? And only one team wins the whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, they had another good season. That's why it was strange, too, when you go back to the quarterback thing. He got his criticism, but he got him that far, and he made enough plays to get as far as they did, but they couldn't get fully over the top.
You're listening to Kenny Mayne. He's the host of the new Hey Mayne podcast. You can listen to that on the Odyssey app. And let me ask you this. As somebody who's, obviously down in the Bay Area, and you said yourself you're a Seattle guy, why did Seattle boo Russell Wilson?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one. I don't think I've ever booed anyone in my entire fan career. It was all good to make as much noise as possible, right? That's what they do. It's a loud stadium. Whoever the opposition is going to get that kind of treatment, when the Seattle defense is out there and you're trying to confuse them, and it sure seemed to work. They had how many delay games? They looked really sloppy. I thought Denver, like they didn't prepare for what they were about to face. Everybody knows when you go to Seattle, you have to have, some silent counts and hand claps and other things to adjust, but the plays were seemingly coming in so late that they barely had time to adjust coming up the line. It was always a hurry. They had a few other plays that were, kind of shaky. They fumbled twice near the goal line. They didn't look as tight as I would have expected. But I still think Denver is going to be good, and Russell's going to have a big season. He was just slightly off. Like some of his deep balls weren't what I've seen historically. I watched him for 10 years up there. That's one of the things he does best, and everything seemed to be just an inch or two off from what was expected. And Seattle played well enough to hold him off. The very end of the game was talking about coaching decisions. I think I would have elected to give your $250 million quarterback the ball with 5 yards. He'd thrown for 300 something. It wasn't like he was having a totally off night. Let him try to get the first down, move it 10 yards closer, and he's probably going to make the field goal.
Yeah, Kenny, I think that I told my partner one of the worst coaching debuts I've seen in a long time. Kenny, I got something I want to run by you because I'm a gambler. I watch football, college football all Saturday, and I'm just blown away at how some of these young kids can't make the extra point. Then I watched the NFL week 1. It was just incredible. I don't know what was going on just with the field goals. But my thing is, the extra point to me, Kenny, is not exciting. You got these guys risking their neck and chest, 80-yard drives to get in the end zone, and here comes little Petey, and he can't make the extra point, game over. Would you be against NFL? You get a touchdown, it's 7 points. We still keep the field goal? Because I'm trying to lobby that. Kenny, help me out.
Well, in the old days, it was completely automatic, right? I forget what the exact percentage was, but it was high 90s, and then they were like, all right, that's stupid. Let's move it back and make it more of a challenge. And since they did that a few years ago, it clearly has had the effect I guess they wanted to make it more of a challenge. I don't know. It's we've been playing that way forever. I don't know that we necessarily toss it out. I think it's tough enough from there, and kicking is hard. When you look and think, all these things we think should be easy, right? Fly balls should be caught in the outfield. You ever stand in the Major League outfield and try to catch a fly ball? Right. It looks like a little pea in the sky, and the field's like 10 times bigger than your men's softball league. So all of it is difficult, and that's why they play, right? All these different challenges, you have to succeed if you're going to prevail in the game.
Kenny Mayne, he's the host of Odyssey podcast, Hey Mayne. Tell us about it. When can we listen, and what's your goal, and how's it going so far?
You can listen anytime you want because it's out there. H-E-Y, like Hey Mayne, M-A-Y-N-E. I had a longer title. It was Kenny Mayne Talks to Famous People, but they thought that's in parentheses. That's the parenthetical to it. But Gretchen, my wife, said you got to have something that people might remember. Odyssey came to me a while back, and we talked about what it might be, and it ended up being, how it turned out is about what I predicted. Like, I kind of had a list of people I know that have succeeded in their various arts, and Bill Walton did it. Aubrey Plaza, the actor, was on. Christopher Guest, Chris Berman was the first one. So we were really happy with all the folks who agreed to join in, and now we're working on kind of the next batch. So we're taking like a month to collect some more interviews and put them out in the middle of October, I hope. So it's been fun.
Hey, Kenny, I want to ask you kind of random question, but your initial thoughts when you heard Tatis was going to be suspended for the year. I'm not a Padre fan. I'm a baseball fan, and I just feel like we all lost out not seeing Machado, Soto, and Tatis in the lineup together, and the Padres look like they're going to make it, kind of holding on, but that bothered me like I was a real fan. What were your thoughts on that suspension?
I think I had the same reaction. He's been so fun to watch.
Yes.
Good energy to the game, and even if you weren't a fan of that team, when you got to see him in the highlights, he has that style and obviously all the talent. So I was just kind of sad that, if proven true, that that's what he did. Like that was, I thought we were past that, but hopefully, he gets his chance to come back and try it again. But it was a huge loss and unexpected too. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that as a suspicion either.
Kenny, good luck with the podcast, although it seems like it's off to a great start. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me.